And now we head for the final qualifying session of the day. And that comes from the SuperMasters. The championship is already decided in the SuperMasters. It's the #1, the man who's about to lose his face fungus, Sam Dimelow. I need to explain that for those who have only just joined us. Because, of course, over the course of the weekend, we've been raising money for a very, very good cause indeed. CRPS Racing, which is basically a very difficult and very, very problematic nervous disorder, which is called complex regional pain syndrome. And there is a charity on Facebook, you can find them, which is CRPS Racing for a Cure. So if you type into your Facebook stream, CRPS Racing 4, that's the number 4, a Cure. Go and like them and follow them. They are a very dedicated group of people who are raising money to try and find a cure for a very, very difficult nervous disorder, which is complex regional pain syndrome. It affects quite a few people over the course of Great Britain and throughout the world as well. And people are still trying to search for a cure. And we're raising money over the course of this weekend. Most of the fundraising has been done by Aidan Hassan and his crew in the cadets. But Sam Dimelow has pledged that if they manage to raise a decent amount of money over the course of the day, he will get rid of his ZZ Top tribute band face fungus that is clearly costing him about 3 to 4 tenths of a second per lap over the course of the season. But he wears it anyway because it looks cool. But he said, no, for charity, I will get rid of it. That's my doing my bit for Movember. So he's looking forward to getting that done. And, well, he might not be looking forward to getting that done, I suppose. If you're watching the Facebook live stream, incidentally, he hasn't quite put his helmet on. You could just about make him out halfway down the left-hand side of the field. But that's going to be quite an impressive job. And I would actually like that to be filmed and put onto our social media website. That's going to be really impressive. Now, we've still got people watching along on the stream. And Paul Elliott mentions Greg Hill, SuperMasters next season. Is that meant to have a question mark on the end of it? I certainly hope so, because it would be great to see so many incredible drivers out there on the circuit, including one who has been racing with them this year, Matt Ogle, who is one of the chief mechanics for Lando Norris's Formula 3 title bid this year. Wish I was there. Good luck all. It's a shame you're not, Matt, because I think you'd have a great chance of a podium in amongst these sorts of weather conditions. And another familiar face in the SuperMasters category, Joe Patterson, former champion, of course. Good luck, Sam Dimelow, he says on the stream, as he gets himself ready to watch from the comfort of his living room and probably wishing he was here racing. Every racing driver wants to be doing that. But I think most of the drivers here are quite glad that Joe Patterson isn't here racing against him. So that could be a very interesting development over the course of 2018 if he manages to get himself back together again and put himself on the grid. We'd like to see that. The more the merrier in the 2018 season. And of course, anybody of any age over 15 can compete in the senior categories. As out onto the circuit goes the new boy, that's Dan Whilton, the 241, who joins us for this final round of the championship. A couple of others are doing so as well. But as things stand in the SuperMasters category, Sam Dimelow has actually won all but 6 of the races this year. And when you consider that there have been 21 races through the course of the year, that shows you how brilliant he's been. But there is still a battle for third position, I should say, in the Drivers' Championship. Ben Yeomans has pretty much secured the runner-up spot with his 4 fantastic victories through the year. But third position is still very much an open contest, with Jim Rainbird hanging on to it for the moment. But then we have Sam Fisher on 1781, Neil Fisher on 1778, George Friday on 1775. So all 3 of those drivers are separated by just 6 points in the standings. Roland Bredner, who sadly isn't here, is then next on 728. Mark Lawrence can overtake him. He's here on a 1724 tally at the moment. And then just in the top 10, we have the likes of Ken Churchill and Sean Port, with Stig Elbeth knocking on the door of it as he gets himself ready for the action. And it's a welcome back for Michael Roots, who has raced at only 4 rounds of the championship so far this season. This is his 5th and final round of the series, but he has finished outside the top 3 on only 3 of the races he's competed in all season. So if Michael Roots had been here for the entirety of the campaign, there was a genuinely strong chance he would have been battling for the championship as well. As into pole position for the moment goes Mark Lawrence. Nicky Taylor has also written on the Facebook stream, go Sam Dimelow, happy to see you with no beard. It hasn't happened yet. He's going to do it a bit later, apparently. Jack Bruce has written on, go on your sail, Mr. Lawrence. He is one of the furthest travelled racing drivers in the world of British karting. He comes all the way from Edinburgh to race in the championship. And even Matas Grigolauskas is watching on the stream as well. We'll be down later to watch it live in person. Good for you, Matas, and get yourself on the grid in 2018. We'd love to have you on the grid once more. 8 minutes to go, and Sean Port is at the top of the standings at the moment, with Stig Elbeth in second place in front of, Ken Churchill's now gone fastest. We have Sean Port in second from Stig Elbeth, Ben Hitch, who is at fourth position at the moment, until Mark Lawrence does another flying lap. And it's now Lawrence from Ken Churchill, Sean Port, Stig Elbeth, Ben Hitch, Dan Walden and George Friday. The times will tumble in the next 7.5 minutes, but it's good to see who's out there. Now, several drivers are not out there. They're waiting for the prime moment. In fact, half of the grid are on the circuit. Half of them are in the pit lane, because we've got Neil Fisher standing by, ready to go. Carl Churchill, Michael Roots, Sam Dimelow, Sam Fisher, Ben Yeomans, and Jim Rainbird are all sat in the pits ready to go. They haven't yet. Now they're all going. So they've been waiting till there's only about 7 minutes to go and then going out. So half the field are sat in the pits, and they're now coming out together. Michael Roots, Carl Churchill, Jim Rainbird all come out of the pits together. And there's going to be a few more that will follow them. A few drivers going out together. That's Sam Fisher leaving the pit lane now. Neil Fisher will do the same. Sam Dimelow's just getting in the kart, ready to go now. Ben Yeomans likewise. So this is going to be an intriguing session. The seniors tend to spend as little amount of time in the karts as possible on the Saturday. They don't like testing. They just want to get on with racing. And Dan Walden has gone straight to the top. Now that is very impressive. Dan Walden, this is his first time in the kart all season in a race weekend, and he's gone straight to the top. George Friday has now beaten him though. George Friday goes fastest on a 46.495 from Dan Walden. Then it's Mark Lawrence, Sean Port, Stig Elbeth, Ben Hitch and Ken Churchill. But now we're getting the fast boys come out onto the circuit. Michael Roots, Carl Churchill, Jim Rainbird, all the front runners are now making their way out onto the circuit. That's not to say that the likes of George Friday, Dan Walden and Mark Lawrence are not, but they have struggled over the course of the season to match the pace of these guys consistently. So Roots, Churchill and Rainbird have obviously declared some kind of truce and are running around the circuit together to push each other forward to get a decent lap time in. That's the other thing I like about this particular championship. Oh, hang on. Is that a problem for Carl Churchill? I think Carl Churchill's got a mechanical problem. Churchill is slowing down. So Carl Churchill is not going to get a decent lap in. Oh no, this is heartbreaking for Carl Churchill. When he's been racing, he's been absolutely mighty. Last time out at Shenington, he won the heat and the pre-final. Either that or he's just getting himself into some clear air, but I think he had a strategy that is now being changed as it goes. So Carl Churchill has definitely got a problem. He's coming down the back straight, looking at the engine. What's the matter with you now, for goodness sake? Sam Fisher, meanwhile, runs around with Dan Walden as they battle away for the top spot. Sam Fisher likely to be one of the drivers who will get himself in amongst the front runners. Now, Dimelow's done a 52.2 to get the ball rolling. Sam Fisher does a 49.5, and Churchill's had to park the car on the back straight, directly opposite my position. What a disaster. So as things currently stand, George Friday is fastest from Dan Walden, Mark Lawrence, Sean Port, Stig Elbeth and Ben Yeomans. Now Dimelow goes fourth. Now we're going to get into the business end of qualifying. But crucially, Carl Churchill looks like he's going to start the first race of the day from the back of the grid. Sam Fisher in 13th. He won't stay there for long. Michael Roots goes up to third position as we watch on the standings on the Facebook Live page. Rainbird up to 8th. So it's all change all the time. And that's the way it's going to be right to the flag. It's going to be very close. Don't forget, earlier in the season, at the second round of the championship at Shenington, we had a qualifying session that went down to the wire, and there were 5 drivers fighting for pole position, and they were separated by, get this, 8 thousandths of a second. Oh yeah. That is absolutely incredible. If you can find a closer karting championship in Great Britain, I'd like to know what it is, because I've never seen a qualifying session finish at just 5 drivers with 8 thousandths of a second between them. I've never seen it before, and I might not ever see it again. But I saw it here in the SuperMasters paddock at the birelART UK Series. And as I said before, if I had a couple of £1,000 to spend on a kart racing campaign, not only could I afford it if I only had a couple of £1,000 in this particular championship, it's a whisker over £3 to race in this championship for the entire season. But not only that, but this is the class I'd race in, the SuperMasters. It's incredibly competitive, very friendly. The seniors have an amazing run of camaraderie and spirit between them. You start racing in this championship from as young as 15 in the seniors, and you can go all the way up till your 60s, as of course Stig Elbeth does, and remains competitive with it. Dimelow goes top, 46.109. Well, that didn't take too long, did it? Ben Yeoman's in second position. Michael Root's right there in pole position now. I was going to say third, but he's improved to a 45.955. He wants to end the season on a high. Now, there is Carl Churchill. He's got the cart going again, and it looks like he's got it up to race pace. That is good news. So he's finally starting to get some good lap times in. Over the line goes Sean Port. There's a 46.7. That's very good. He's only 0.8 of a second off the pace of Michael Roots. So Sean Port has definitely found some speed. Dan Walden is right up there in fourth position now alongside Ben Yeomans. He's going to be one to watch in 2018 if he does a full-time campaign. This is only his first weekend and he's right up in the top four. Ben Yeomans now goes second ahead of Sam Dimelow. Neil Fisher now goes fourth. Mark Lawrence now goes fifth. It's so close again. 0.2 of a second covers the top 5 carts. Amazing. Roots is still fastest. 56 thousandths of a second quicker than Ben Yeomans. Now, Carl and Ken run around together. The Churchills, father and son, having an absolutely amazing run together as Carl Churchill, former champion, and Ken Churchill, who's doing it because he loves it, basically, running around together. There must be an amazing amount of pride as these two run around the circuit together as Ken follows his son. He really is a chip off the old block, isn't he? That must be a delightful sight. Ken Churchill, who's raced in so many different forms of racing over the years, in the glory days of karting, when it was a proper national sport in the same vein as British touring cars is. Karting was a big, big deal. And Ken Churchill raced against some of the most incredible drivers you're ever going to see, including the likes of Terry Fullerton. But it's great to see them battling away for position. Now, Carl Churchill's gone up to 13th. If he's got any more pace in the kart, he'll definitely shoot up into the top 6. Sean Port seems to have been, has done pretty much all he can do. He's just put his hand in the air. So he's going to bail out and finish his qualifying session. So Sean Port, he's done a very good job, actually. He's only 0.8 of a second off the pace. And, well, 0.768. And also into the pits goes the 5 of George Friday. So George Friday has decided, I can't do better than a 46.4. You come into the pits at this stage, it is game over. And there's Dan Walden overtaking Sam Fisher. Dan Walden is the standout star of this qualifying session so far. This is only his first meeting of the season in the finale, obviously getting set up for 2018, and now he is doing an absolutely fantastic job right up there on the second row of the grid so far. Jim Rainbird's going to come across the line to get one more flying lap in there. And Roots is going to remain in pole position unless things dramatically change behind him. Yeomans and Dimelow are on quick ones, I believe. Where is Sam Dimelow? Oh no, Sam Dimelow has just backed out of his qualifying lap and he's not going to get another one in. So Sam Dimelow will not be on the front row. That is interesting. So Sam Dimelow will start his final race meeting of the season from the second row. He's going to try and get another fast lap in, but he's not going to get to the start-finish line in time. The checkered flag goes out now. And Sam Dimelow, oh, I can't believe it. He's just come across the line and he can't believe he's missed his chance. He will not improve. So Sam Dimelow remains third, kicking himself. He left it just a little bit too late and slowed down just a little too much on that lap beforehand. He wanted to get one more lap in, he's not going to. So it looks like it's going to be Michael Roots and Ben Yeomans on the front row unless someone else can do something about it. Dan Walden coming out of the final corner now. Will the underdog, the new boy, get somewhere closer to it? Well, no, he's fourth position, but let's be fair to him. Dan Walden is exactly 0.179 of a second away from pole position in his first meeting. That is absolutely terrific. That just goes to prove you don't have to be a seasoned campaigner. You don't have to be an established name in the championship. You can get into these karts, and if you're a good driver, boom, you will be at the front. That's terrific. Roots and Yeomans have both bailed out, I believe, of their qualifying laps. Then it's Dimelow from Walden. Dan Walden, what a standout performance. He's there on the second row of the grid, 0.1 of a second off the pole position. Can't believe it. Fisher and Lawrence are 5th and 6th on the third row. From Sam Fisher and George Friday, Sean Port and Jim Rainbird, then it's Ben Hitch, Stig Elbeth, and then Carl and Ken Churchill will join each other on the 7th row of the grid. That is the qualifying sessions wrapped up for the day. We now focus on the first races of the day. And that's why the racing is so close. How about that for a grid? Ben Yeomans and Sam Dimelow on the front row of the starting grid, because Michael Roots, as it appears, has failed scrutineering. So we'll now start from the back of the grid. Dan Walden and Neil Fisher then line up together on the second row of the grid. Dan Walden on his debut in third position. Mark Lawrence and Sam Fisher in third position, on the third row of the grid, I should say, fifth and sixth. George Friday and Sean Port together on the fourth row, with Jim Rainbird and Ben Hitch together on ninth and 10th. Another positive start to Ben Hitch's career in the championship, up there in the top 10. Great to see. Stig Elbeth and Carl Churchill together on row 6, with Ken Churchill lining up alongside Michael Roots, who was excluded from qualifying for leaving scrutineering too early. So that is the reason for why he is down at the back. But that just means that Michael Roots will be storming up from dead last, and what a race we're going to get as a result of that, because Michael Roots, fastest in qualifying, will be absolutely meteoric in his rise back up through the field. But it's Ben Yeomans who lines up on pole position, whose second half of the season has been truly staggering. He's waited quite a long time for a victory. He went through the entirety of the 2016 season without a win and still finished second in the points thanks to his consistency. He waited for a win, and then 4 of them have come along at once over the course of the season, including a complete and total domination at Butmore Park. He won all 3 races back in September. 4 races in the season won by him. And here, only a handful of drivers have actually won races in the course of the season. In fact, only 4 drivers have been on the top spot after the end of a race. Sam Dimelow, who's done it 15 times. Ben Yeomans, who's done it 4 times. Michael Roots, who's done it twice, both of which were in finals. And Carl Churchill, who got the heat and the pre-final last time out at Shennington. So it's going to be an interesting one. A very, very positive start to the day. And seeing as how he might well be watching the stream by now after his first race, I think it's appropriate that Matty Wright's comment gets onto the stream. Yes, Stano, you deserve that, mate. He certainly does, doesn't he? Elliot Stanley cantering to victory in the end in the previous race there in the first heat of the Super Elites contest for the weekend. And, of course, his first win of the season. Michael Roots is still in the pits. Michael Roots is still in the pits. I can tell you that. He's got a problem. So Michael Roots, who was expecting to be starting the race from the back, is still in the pit lane with problems with his kart. It looks as though we've had a couple of others who have struggled to get their karts off to the starting line as well. That is the 227 of Stig Elbeth, just joining up at the back of the grid as normal. Certainly joining at the tail end of the grid, having delayed himself to the start. He will now get himself into the correct grid position because he's not quite at the back. Now Michael Roots will go out, but he's got to wait for the whole field to go by, and then he'll put himself into that tail end position. They all go round again, as they've obviously all got 2 formation laps. So they all go around one more time, and that's the cue for Michael Roots to leave the pits. He'll only do 1 formation lap while everybody else does 2. But Michael Roots shaking his head as he leaves the pits. You can't be dwelling on it. You've just got to shake it off and get on with it. You can't be dwelling on things that are going wrong. You have to be focusing on what's further up the road. So Ben Yeomans and Sam Dimelow on the front row of the starting grid. That's going to be incredibly exciting. But Michael Roots at the back of the grid has a point to prove. Pole position in qualifying, excluded from the results of qualifying for leaving the scrutineering bay too early. So now he has got to make it strong. Just before we get started, worth mentioning a guy who is watching the stream, James English. Shame I'm not racing today, but 2018, I will be back strong. There's a warning threat if ever I've heard one. James English, a very talented racing driver, and has been in the birelART UK Series paddock a few times, and hopefully a 2018 Series opposition from him will be pretty spicy. Out of the final corner they come. There's the official just standing there, making sure they all ease off into the final turn. They can't really get on the throttle until everybody's bunched together. Out of the heel of the boot, the engine revs will rise. And away we go. And it's a good start from Dimelow, but is he going to beat Yeomans to the corner? Yes, he does, and through 2 as well goes. Oh, that's a spin. That's Ken Churchill further back. Churchill's gone off there at turn 1. So Churchill goes off and trying to make his way up the order. That's Neil Fisher, having worked his way into 2nd position, I do believe, the 6th plate. So Neil Fisher in there behind Sam Dimelow. But Dimelow is your leader, Fisher 2nd. Then it is Yeomans in 3rd position. It's all battling going on further back. But a very, very disappointing start for Ken Churchill, spinning off the road. Neil Fisher up to 2nd. Up to 4th is Dan Weldon. Dan Whilton, I should say, sorry. That's a very interesting mistake to make with the late, great Dan Whilton being such a top star in the world of motorsport. Dan Whilton it is, who is there in 4th position. Mark Lawrence in front of George Friday as they battle for 5th position. Then it's Sam Fisher from Sean Port, Jim Rainbird, Stig Elberth, and then Michael Roots, who's made up 2 places already. 3 places, of course, because you've also got to take into account Carl Churchill, the new boy Ben Hitch, and Ken Churchill, as there's still a few overtaking moves on the 2nd lap. But Sam Dimelow has pressure from Neil Fisher and Ben Yeomans early, and Dan Whilton is not far away from them either, so it's getting very exciting. Some terrific racing so far in only the 2nd lap of this SuperMasters 125 heat. 2 more races for each class to come after this one, of course, but what a sensational battle it's been. On to the far side, up the inside, a little bit further behind this battle. Michael Roots is making up places like crazy. He's up in about 10th position now, I think. So he is charging his way forward. And yes, Michael Roots has passed Stig Elberth to get into 10th place in front of Carl Churchill, Ben Hitch and Ken Churchill. As up the inside, Neil Fisher has a look at Sam Dimelow. He's not going to get through. Look at Dan Whilton. Whilton is on the back of the leaders. This is his first ever meeting of the 2017 season, and he is straight in there up amongst the leaders of the championship. Terrific stuff. Ben Yeomans, who has won 4 of the races this year, has got Dan Whilton breathing down his neck. What a fantastic underdog story that would be if Whilton could get himself not only onto the podium, but up to the front. Neil Fisher tries to get his move, and there's a little bit of a tap there from Yeomans. And into the barriers goes Neil Fisher. Bangs his head on the fence, but it looks as though otherwise he's okay. Now, I don't think that was anybody's fault in particular. I think that was just a racing incident. Neil Fisher trying to close up on Sam Dimelow. Had to back out of the throttle or get very quickly on the brakes, and that meant that he lost momentum, and Yeomans had nowhere to go but into him. So I don't think Neil Fisher or Sam Dimelow or Ben Yeomans is to blame for that one. Unfortunately, that was just the concertina effect. Let's look. So look, Neil Fisher closes up, and then there's just nothing that Ben Yeomans could do about it. He just ends up parked in the back of Fisher's kart. And, well, that's just a real shame. I don't think that was malicious. Ben Yeomans is not that kind of driver at all. He's not a dirty racer in any stretch of the imagination. But look, Yeomans has lost 2nd place to Dan Whilton. Whilton's now in 2nd. And it's Whilton versus Dimelow. Absolutely incredible. Dimelow, the man who's been dominant all year. He's won 15 of the 21 races this year. He's got Dan Whilton breathing down his neck. And Dimelow is defending. Yeomans is going for the inside of Whilton. Whilton gets shunted back down to 3rd position as a result. Oh my word, this could be the best race of the season. Dan Whilton is tightening up. And look who's coming with them. George Friday is trying to close up. So George Friday in 4th position is trying to close up on the leaders. Dimelow is being defensive. He doesn't have to win. He doesn't even have to dominate. He just wants to play out here. So he's battling away, and Yeomans makes a move on the inside, and Whilton's going to get past both of them. Dan Whilton's going to take the lead. Whilton leads in front of Dimelow, Yeomans and Friday. Dan Whilton, in his first race of 2017, leads at Whilton Mill. Absolutely fantastic. And now Dimelow charges up the inside at Christmas. He's going to go wide. Whilton's going to be ready for him, but Dimelow shuts the door back. But forever and a day, we could say that Whilton, in his first race of the year, did lead a lap as Dimelow has now got away. Yeomans is back there in a second. Friday's trying to come back past Dan Whilton. This is amazing. I never thought we'd get as exciting a race as this first out of the blocks in the SuperMasters. Terrific stuff. A race full of incredibly talented racers, some ex-pro, some wanting to be pro, some amateur. But how about this? Look, that was Yeomans diving up the inside of Dimelow. There wasn't enough space. Whilton said, "Cheers, dears, I'm going for the lead," and he got the move. It didn't last long. He is now down to 3rd position again, trying to defend from George Friday. But that is the glorious moment that Dan Whilton will replay to his friends, his mates, his family, his children, if he ever has any, all the way through the rest of his career. Did you see that? Did you see when I just mullered both Dimelow and Yeomans in one move? Remember that? But there is a penalty being handed out to Ben Yeomans. Now, clearly they've decided that Yeomans was just a little bit too aggressive in his move on Sam Dimelow at that incident. So they've decided to hand a penalty to Ben Yeomans. Now, that is interesting. I'm not entirely sure what the nature of the penalty is. I will try and find out. But Ben Yeomans is going to get a penalty, and now he sees it because it's on the digi flag on the main straight. So what is the penalty going to be? I'm going to try and find out as we watch the race. So what sort of penalty is going to be given out to Ben Yeomans? It can be a time penalty. It can be a position penalty. I'm not sure what it's going to be. 4 position penalty. That's what it's going to be for Ben Yeomans, and he's just taken the lead. That's going to make him sick to his stomach. So Ben Yeomans will be docked 4 positions at the end of this race. So the best he can finish in this race is 5th place, and that's only if he wins. So if he wins on the road, he will be 5th position. What a disaster for Ben Yeomans. Dan Whilton, meanwhile, is still tucked right underneath Sam Dimelow, having caught him back up. If Yeomans crosses the line first and Whilton crosses the line second behind Dimelow, Whilton will be the race winner, and he's going for it. Dimelow is trying to defend from Dan Whilton. Whilton is giving him a nasty scare. I think we found Sam Dimelow's ultimate rival for 2018. Dan Whilton is taking the battle to him. And look who's behind George Friday. That's Michael Roots. Michael Roots is closing in. This is going to be a 5-way scrap for the victory. And we've only got just over a minute plus 1 lap to go. Yeomans is disappearing out front. Dimelow couldn't care less because he knows that Yeomans is going to get docked. Whilton's trying to come past Dimelow, can't get through. That's tightening up Friday and Roots. This is going to be an amazing scrap. And as we know, Ben Yeomans has the penalty. It's the same one, but he's been given it on the digiflag, so he knows now that he's got to try and pull away because the best he can finish this race now is 5th position. He'll be docked 4 places, we've been told by race control. So now Yeomans is going to be only as good as 5th in this race, and that's only if he crosses the line first on the road. So the victory battle is between the 4 men behind him. Dimelow, Whilton, Roots and Friday. Roots has got past George Friday then. So now, can he close up on Dimelow and Whilton? Amazing race from Dan Whilton this as he tightens up on Sam Dimelow. The dominant force of 2017 is being shown a clean pair of heels here. He's having to keep an eye on what's going on behind him for a change. Dan Whilton is definitely emerging as a potential championship winner in 2018. If this is only his first race, imagine what he'll be like next year with a full campaign underneath him. Again, he's pressuring Sam Dimelow. Again, he is hassling him. And this is bringing Michael Roots close to the battle too. I tell you what, Sam Dimelow won the title in 2016. He's already won the title in 2017. 2018 might be a very different proposition for him because he's got Whilton and Roots. Obviously, we know Yeomans is quick. He's going to get his, it's his 5th win of the season on the road, but he will be docked 4 places. So I think 2018 is going to be very tough indeed for Sam Dimelow, and that's not to take into account any number of the other senior drivers who will join the grid in 2018. I think there's quite a few drivers who will see this and go, nah, I can beat them easy. Down to Christmas corner. We're into the last lap. And it's Sam Dimelow who is going to win this race for the moment, even though Yeomans is in front of him on the road, because of course Ben Yeomans has been handed a penalty that will dock him 4 places. But can Dan Whilton beat Sam Dimelow in his first race of the season? He's trying his best. He's close at Parker. He's getting closer at Chapman. Sam Dimelow's going to have to defend like crazy. Michael Roots is getting in there as well. So Michael Roots is going to try and get into the top 3. Whilton tries. Dimelow's going to hold him at bay. But what a debut from Dan Whilton. Yeomans will cross the line in the lead, but he will be docked places. So it's going to be Dimelow who wins from Whilton, Roots and Friday. With Yeomans in 5th, Lawrence will be 6th in front of Sam Fisher, Carl Churchill, Rainbird, Port, Hitch, Elbeth, Churchill and Fisher out of the race from earlier on. Absolutely sensational race, and Dan Whilton is the toast of the town here. He so nearly beat Sam Dimelow on his debut in the season. That is absolutely terrific. And now, of course, that means that Ben Yeomans will be docked 4 places to drop himself to 5th place. It'll be Sam Dimelow who wins from Dan Whilton and Michael Roots. George Friday in 4th position. There is the finishing positions over the line, but that is before the penalty has been added to Ben Yeomans. Dimelow wins from Whilton, Roots and Friday. Yeomans is docked to 5th. Lawrence is 6th from Fisher, Churchill, Rainbird, Port, Hitch, Elbeth, Churchill, and the non-finisher is Neil Fisher. Absolutely fantastic start to the day. The dummy grid is ready for the SuperMasters pre-final. And after a race 1 victory, Sam Dimelow is going to try and make it 2 out of 3. Dan Whilton, the superstar talent, has come into this race for the first time in the 2017 season and shown Sam Dimelow a clean pair of heels. Can he beat him in the second race? Michael Roots and George Friday together on the second row of the grid. Ben Yeomans accepts his penalty and starts from 5th position on the starting grid despite crossing the line first on the road. Lawrence is alongside him on the 3rd row of the grid, highly motivated this weekend and looking very strong indeed. Sam Fisher and Carl Churchill on the 4th row of the grid. Great to see Carl pushing his way forward from the back. Sam Fisher needing a little bit more pace, but I'm sure it'll come as the day continues on. Jim Rainbird and Sean Port battling away on the 5th row of the starting grid, proof of just how close and competitive it is. Ben Hitch and Stig Elberth together in the 6th row of the starting grid, with Ken Churchill fighting back from 13th, and Neil Fisher, after his trip into the fence at the toe of the boot, now rejoins the fray from the back. But it will be a really exciting race again, this one, because Dan Whilton has turned out to be the star attraction here, as he has got the pace to run with Sam Dimelow. This is only his first weekend of the 2017 season, and Sam Dimelow had better watch his back. The new champion for 2017. Whilton is not taking any prisoners at all, and I think we may just have found our ultimate rivalry for the 2018 season. Dimelow versus Whilton, the master versus the pretender. I think this could be a really strong battle. And Michael Roots there in 3rd position, wanting to make a good race of things as well. Ben Yeomans in there, 3rd in the line. And then, of course, we have Sam Fisher in the mix as well. Jim Rainbird starting P9 on kart number 8. And then, of course, we have the drivers a little bit further back in the mix as well. But great to see that no matter where we go, no matter what the class, no matter what the circuit, the racing is always incredibly close, incredibly feisty, and amazingly tight in the birelART UK Series paddock. There's going to be a lot more drivers on the grid in the 2018 season. Head to the website, birelARTUKseries.com, to make sure that you guys are in the action and on the grid for next year. And what a magnificent spectacle it is set to be in each of the 4 classes. The cadets from 7 years of age, the juniors from 12 years of age, and the seniors from 15 years of age in the Super Elites and SuperMasters. And it's great to see the differing classes and how this will affect things in the final reckoning. We are not entirely sure, but we now have the final races of the season to come. And it's going to be a really interesting one to see how they all battle away together. Well, we've got drivers, we've got people watching the stream, both here and at home. And great to see so many people watching the stream along at home. Rich Ward sending a message to Sam Fisher. Good luck to Sam Fisher for the pre and main finals from Posty. That's Rich Ward sending in a message there for Sam Fisher. Do send your messages of good luck to all of the drivers in each of the individual classes through the course of the day. We will give out some messages through the course of the proceedings. We've had one from a Facebook chap called Dialed Crew saying, I'm racing in juniors next year. Who is Dialed Crew? We're going to need to figure out who that is. Not entirely sure. That's a name that you can run with next year for some particular reason. And although his son, Freddie Tomlinson, couldn't be here today racing, his father and the boss of Ginetta Cars, Lawrence Tomlinson, has sent a message in. Good luck, everyone. And that is obviously very much appreciated from Lawrence Tomlinson, a great friend of the championship and a great contender in the championships as well, with son Freddie hopefully going to be back for more in the 2018 season, I should say. Freddie very much a very tough opposition to a lot of the drivers in the Cadets Championship this year, and no doubt if he's back in 2018 he will be stronger. Joe Richardson says good luck to all the 2SM boys and Dimelow. So obviously there's a lot of support for the man who's won the championship in 2017. Sam Dimelow's got a right posse that goes with him in and around the circuit, and even those who can't make it throw their 2 cents in to support him as we get ourselves ready for the action. But Sam Dimelow again getting himself ready to win, and he could become the first man here today to win 2 races over the course of 1 meeting, because so far today everybody who has won has only won once. We have 7 different winners from the first 7 races of the day, but there's one man who's going to try and stop that from happening, And that is Dan Whilton alongside him on the front row of the grid. But don't count out the attentions of Michael Roots, George Friday and Ben Yeomans, all of which were very, very close together in that race as well. Yeomans actually winning on the road, don't forget. So if he does that again in race 2, it really will be 8 different winners from 8 races. And the drivers are getting themselves ready for the action. We will go on to the formation laps shortly. The race, of course, is due to start at 20 minutes past the hour, which is in just 1 minute time. Pretty good going, actually, considering the sort of time that we have been keeping to. Considering we've had a red flag as well, we've kept the time very, very well indeed over the course of the day. And great to see. So the drivers are getting themselves ready for racing for the penultimate time in the 2017 season in the SuperMasters, with Sam Dimelow and Dan Whilton on the front row of the starting grid. Should be a really exciting race in the SuperMasters 125. Get your messages in for the finals for the cadets, juniors and super elites. If you're watching on the Facebook stream, could be your last chance to send them a good luck message before they go racing. We'll try and get them all read out and put on the stream before the race gets underway. We're under starters orders for the SuperMasters 125 pre-final. Carl Churchill moving a little bit slowly, but does get going. What about Neil Fisher from the back of the field? Oh, a little bit of an issue there for Stig Elbeth getting away. Ken Churchill and Neil Fisher have not got going. Well, Neil Fisher needs to get moving. Ken Churchill, they're trying to get the car restarted. Neil Fisher waving to someone at the side of the circuit there. I'm guessing Lady Fisher. And as they get going once again around the circuit, they are under 2 formation laps. If you are interested in competing in the championship in 2018, do get to the website, birelARTUKseries.com. Plenty of space on the grid. And in the birelART UK's SuperMasters class, you can race in this category from as young as... sorry, I thought I saw something there on the back straight. But the birelART SuperMasters circuit is from drivers aged 15 years and upwards. And obviously the Super Elites and SuperMasters are usually done by weight category. And the drivers will go around for another formation lap. Great battles around the circuit all the way through. And we still have Stig Elbeth in the pits with mechanical problems. Nothing is getting him out onto the circuit at the moment. So it looks as though Stig Elbeth will have to start the race from the pit lane. The rest of the drivers, meanwhile, are just forming themselves up on the grid, as the racing is going to be pretty rapid in this one. And the drivers will get themselves ready to fly around this incredible, magnificent Whilton Mill circuit. Still plenty of great action. 1,120 metres by 8 metres this circuit in length and width. And an absolutely sensational battle we are set to have here at the Whilton Mill karting circuit for the penultimate time in the class. Stig Elbeth has got himself out onto the pits. Got himself out onto the circuit. I wonder, are they going to go round for another formation lap? Yes, they are. And into the pits. That looks like, I think that's Michael Roots going into the pits. Is that Michael Roots going into the pit lane? I think I just saw Michael Roots coming down pit road. So something has happened to Michael Roots, I think that is. But he is now in pit road. I'm not entirely sure what for. But it looks to me as though now Michael Roots will have a very disastrous start to his race after all. And it's going to be Dimelow and Dan Whilton on the front row. Then, of course, it will be George Friday and Ben Yeomans will be next. But there is no Michael Roots to be seen. That is a really dramatic start to this second race of the day for the SuperMasters in the 125cc karts. But Michael Roots, I think his day is over. I can see him in the pits, or certainly his race is over, out of the kart. And I think game over for Michael Roots. I'm not sure what's happened there, but we'll have to continue on and see what happens over the course of the rest of the day. But certainly the race is about to get underway now after 3 formation laps in the end for the SuperMasters 125. And as the battle intensifies, this is going to be a good one. The Sorcerer and the Apprentice on the front row. Sam Dimelow and Dan Whilton, the novice, this first weekend of his 2017 season. Away we go. And a terrible start for Dan Whilton. Dimelow and Yeomans go through together and there's contact. Sam Fisher's gone into the sideways. 2 or 3 carts going off there. And Sam Fisher goes wide. Seems to have got it back together again though, but Dan Whilton's now battling away with George Friday. Several carts with difficulties now as they all tiptoe their way around the first part of the course. Sam Fisher spinning and then clipping 1 or 2 of the carts as he went around. I think one of them was Mark Lawrence in the 7, which is why Mark Lawrence is now down at the back. Oh, Mark Lawrence has got a problem with the axle. Mark Lawrence's cart is in absolute pieces there at the back of the cart as he tries to bring it in. I wonder if the cameras can pick up Mark Lawrence as he comes in, because that rear wheel is bouncing around all over the place. Across the line they come. Dimelow leading from Yeomans, Whilton, Friday, Churchill, Rainbird, Neil Fisher, Sean Port, Ken Churchill, Ben Hitch and Stig Elbeth. And just, yeah, look at the vibrations of Lawrence's car. Look as he comes into the pit lane and comes towards us. You'll be able to see the... Oh, there's more contact! Fisher spun, Rainbird and Sean Port in there as well. It's carnage! Absolute carnage in the SuperMasters 125. I didn't expect this kind of thing to happen in this race, but out in front it means that Dimelow, Yeomans and Whilton have stretched out an advantage out front. Dimelow has got pressure from Ben Yeomans. Wow, this is the craziest start to a SuperMasters 125 race I've ever seen. Look at that. Bit of a moment there as Rainbird, I think, went into the back of Neil Fisher post-spin. So Neil Fisher was already sliding. Rainbird had nowhere to go, and Sean Port had to slam on the brakes to avoid the contact, and Yeomans takes the lead. Yeomans leads then in front of Sam Dimelow. So Ben Yeomans has got himself into the lead at the right moment. But what a crazy start to this race. And again, that little incident between Fisher, Porter and Rainbird, Sean Port and Rainbird, I would say actually it's just one of those things. I wouldn't say that's any one driver causing an incident. Again, that was just a bit of a mistake from Neil Fisher potentially, and then Rainbird having nowhere to go, Sean Port having to slam on the brakes. That's a topsy-turvy race that's provided us as a result of that. Yeomans leading, Dimelow second from Whilton, Friday, Carl and Ken Churchill, 5th and 6th. And then we have Ben Hitch, who's made his way up into 7th place. He's another one of the first-timers here this weekend. He's about to get passed, though, by Rainbird. No, sorry, that's Neil Fisher. Neil Fisher goes back up the inside and takes Ben Hitch. Then it's Rainbird in 9th. Stig Elbeth is 10th in front of Port. And then we have retirements, I'm afraid, as well, from Sean Fisher and Mark Lawrence, who were involved in that first corner moment. And I don't think Mark Lawrence is going to be particularly happy with all that repair work he's got to do to his car now. Ben Yeomans in front of Sam Dimelow. And guess who's coming? Look behind you. Dan Whilton is getting back on the pace. George Friday trying to come with them. Carl Churchill looks to have more pace this time. So the battle's still going strong, but Dan Whilton is going to try and get on terms with Sam Dimelow. Once again, he closes in. Great racing. Yeomans, Dimelow, Whilton. Friday in there in 4th position from Carl and Ken Churchill. Neil Fisher in 7th place, but not for long. In fact, looking back, I think that is Neil Fisher trying to move his way forward and has done so on Rainbird. But Ben Hitch has come through on Neil Fisher. He's got through. Ken Churchill has gone backwards. So Ken Churchill has lost about 3 places on that last lap. But it's Yeomans, Dimelow and Whilton. That's the real story at the moment. Friday still going well in 4th place. 5th is Carl Churchill. Then 6th is the new boy, Ben Hitch. I say new boy, this is his first weekend of the 2017 season. Just to clarify there, Ben Yeomans in front of Sam Dimelow and Dan Whilton. Whilton is reeling in the leaders of this battle in a very similar way to the way that Steve Alvarez-Brown did so well at Shennington 4 weeks ago. It's now Dan Whilton who's putting on a bit of a show here for the crowd at Wilton Mill as they come onto the back straight once again. Yeomans leading, Dimelow 2nd, Whilton 3rd, reeling him in. There's a contact warning for Neil Fisher. Didn't realise that he'd got himself into another situation there. Certainly didn't see it. But George Friday's going well in 4th place, trying to chase down the 3 leaders. So there is a chance for George Friday here to get himself onto the podium if he keeps on the run. Yeomans, Dimelow and Whilton still battling away. If they begin to scrap, and it looks as though they're about to, then George Friday is there in 4th position to pick up the pieces if there is a squabble. Out of Ashby, up the short stretch, into Parker. Yeomans, Dimelow, Whilton. 4th position is that man, George Friday. Carl Churchill's not far away in 5th position either. Ben Hitch doing a good job in 6th position, but being caught by Neil Fisher. Yeomans has got Dimelow all over the back of him. Dan Walden sitting pretty in 3rd position as he runs behind them. George Friday still there in 4th position, reeling them in. Still giving it gusto. George Friday keeping the faith as he comes across the line. Carl Churchill still likewise. Walden's giving pressure to Sam Dimelow as they go down the straight towards Christmas Corner. He has a look, has a think about it, decides better of it. Absolutely magic racing thus far, but there's still plenty of racing to come. Into Ashby they go, out of the turn once again, down the Kenny straight, into the left at Parker, into the left at Chapman's, and onto the back straight. Dan Walden looks really confident. Sam Dimelow on the back of Yeomans though. Ben Yeomans still runs in the lead. Sam Dimelow giving a lot of pace here as they come off the toe of the boot, down the drop, into the heel of the boot. And they both run wide. Dimelow and Whilton both run very wide, and that's giving a bit of hope to George Friday. He knows that both of them are working very hard indeed, but they're losing time to Yeomans. Is Dan Whilton going to make the move? No, he doesn't. He's going to work with Dimelow. He wants to win the race, so he's going to work with him to catch back up to Yeomans. So now we still have Dimelow and Whilton battling away together. Whilton's only interested in one thing, that's the win. Neil Fisher gets past Ben Hitch further back. So Fisher has got himself into 6th place, past Ben Hitch, as Jim Rainbird closes up for 7th place as they battle away together. But meanwhile, into the boot, and we've got Yeomans in front of Dimelow and Whilton. And there's a track limit warning that time for Sam Dimelow. Whilton's going to dive for the inside. Oh, goodness me. Dan Whilton deciding that now is the time to go for Sam Dimelow, and Dimelow is looking behind him. Now Whilton's going to make the move on the inside, and he's through, but Dimelow's going to get him back on the undercut, is he? No, he's not. Dan Whilton takes Sam Dimelow. And the Yeomans in the lead has spun it! Yeomans has spun in the lead! I don't believe it! Ben Yeomans has spun, and now Dimelow's going to try and get the lead back off Whilton, but Whilton's in the lead. What happened to Ben Yeomans? Has something gone wrong with the car, but Yeomans has lost the lead in a spin? Now surely that needs another look, because Ben Yeomans, it almost looks like he just made a mistake. Or is something wrong with the car? But whatever, Whilton is now leading in front of Dimelow and George Friday in 3rd. Is Dan Whilton going to win his first race of the season at only his 2nd attempt? 2 minutes and 5 seconds plus a lap to go, and Dan Whilton versus Sam Dimelow, take 2. But what on earth happened to Ben Yeomans? I have no idea how he lost that. It just looked as though he slammed on the brakes and the back end swapped ends. It looked like a rookie error there from Ben Yeomans. Meanwhile, Sam Dimelow trying desperately not to laugh his face off as he watches his main rival spinning off at Ashby. Now battling with his new opposition, Dan Whilton. So Whilton getting the place on Sam Dimelow at exactly the right moment. George Friday in 3rd. He's catching them both as well. George Friday lapping a similar pace as Dan Whilton sets the new fastest lap of the race. But Ben Yeomans in 4th position is unable to keep up with the pace. That is one of the most dramatic things I've ever seen in this championship. This is the battle further back. Carl Churchill in 5th is being caught by Neil Fisher, Ben Hitch and Jim Rainbird as they run together in the 5th position battle. Dimelow trying to stay with Dan Whilton, but now that Whilton's got a clear bit of track in front of him, he's disappearing. There's Yeomans on the string going through, the number 2. How on earth he lost the lead, I will never know. Just spinning the car. It just looked as if the pressure got to him. That's very unusual, though, for Ben Yeomans to make a mistake like that. But once again, drama here in the birelART UK Series. No idea what happened to Ben Yeomans, but he is down in 4th position. So now it's Dan Whilton ahead of Sam Dimelow. The new boy versus the champion, and Dan Whilton is leading. Sam Dimelow in second position, having an absolutely magnificent run. And it looks to me as though it's going to be Whilton, Dimelow and Friday in the top three for this one. George Friday still putting the pressure on the leading two, but Dimelow just doesn't seem to be able to run with Dan Whilton. He just doesn't have the same pace. And if they come off the final turn, last lap, here we go. And Whilton, Dimelow and Friday together in the top three. Ben Yeoman's in fourth. Fifth position is Churchill, but for how much longer? Because Neil Fisher, oh, he's in front of him. Neil Fisher has got past Carl Churchill, and Ben Hitch is trying to hang on in front of Jim Rainbird. So some amazing racing here. I don't think anyone would have predicted coming into this that Sam Dimelow was going to be beaten by someone who's never raced in the 2017 season prior to this. But Dan Whilton has been an absolute stormhold here at Whilton Mill. He's going to come through in fine style, into the left, into the right, and I cannot believe he's going to do this in such emphatic fashion. 8 different winners from 8 races. Dan Whilton is a winner! Second for Sam Dimelow, third for George Friday, fourth for Ben Yeomans, and he'll be kicking himself that he cost himself a victory there with that one. Absolutely amazing victory, but what an absolutely sensational win that is for Dan Whilton. What a sensational battle. And a very good question for Jack Bruce, from Jack Bruce, as he sends us a question right at the death. Will Mark Lawrence be able to bounce back for the final? We'll have to find out, but truly sensational stuff as Dan Whilton wins in fine style from Sam Dimelow and George Friday. So an absolutely incredible race there, in particular from George Friday in third position. That was a damaged kart last time out, and he's been racing in a really difficult position for the last couple of meetings, and that's the first time he's sat in that kart in its current guise, going out of the pit lane, George Friday. So third position, fantastic work. Dan Whilton, though, is the main story. He beat Sam Dimelow to the flag. Ben Yeoman's in fourth position from Neil Fisher, Carl Churchill, Jim Rainbird, Ben Hitch, Sean Port, Stig Elbeth and Ked Churchill, with retirements, I'm afraid to say, from Sam Fisher and Mark Lawrence. And as Jack Bruce asks, will Mark Lawrence bounce back for the final? Well, hopefully, from his point of view, he won't be bouncing at all. We're making our way back down to the dummy grid from scrutineering. I'm starting to feel like I'm channeling some Martin Brundle vibes or something. I'm getting quite used to doing these grid walks now. I tell you what, we need to do this every weekend so I can lose at least a stone a weekend. Here's Mark Lawrence. Ah, Mark Lawrence on the grid. So clearly the kart is actually looking like a kart again now.
Yeah, I'm not going out in the clown car this time. Yeah.
That was a tricky one, and it was difficult because there were so many karts going into the same bit of road at the same time. It was a tricky situation.
Yeah, there was no avoiding that, you know. But it's like one of these things, so here I am at the back again.
And with no pressure?
No pressure at all, yeah, so it's fantastic. The way I like it, you know.
Terrific. Good luck, Mark. Okay, so we're in the dummy grid as well, and Andy Cox is right alongside me. You've got some gossip for me, apparently.
Gossip. So at the presentation at the end of today, I believe we've raised enough money that old ZZ Top is going to be shaved on the podium.
Oh, brilliant. So he will actually have to do it on the podium.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it? So just to make sure he does it. And so if everyone can come to the presentation, you know, that's it. Perhaps you can moisturise him afterwards, Jake. Well,
we'll keep the cameras rolling, won't we?
Okay. Or maybe not.
Maybe not. But I tell you what, we will keep the cameras rolling so that there is scientific evidence that he has done it. I think it's going to be amazing to watch that. After the championship battle he's had, and, you know, doing something stupid for charity is always a good laugh. So I'm sure he'll do well. Right, let's talk to a man who should have been at the front end at the end of that last race and didn't really get a chance to do anything. Michael, Frustrating weekend thus far. What actually happened in the second race? Where did you disappear to?
Yeah.
I'm not sure everybody heard that, but don't repeat it word for word. It looks like there was some kind of incident before the start.
Yeah, I think Mark got unfortunate, hit a bit of grass or something and span into me. So, yeah, knocked all my steering well out and couldn't really drive it, so that was it.
It's always a difficult thing when you've got so many ridiculously competitive drivers who are all so closely matched. Qualifying this year has been always very tight, and the level of competition is very tight here, but I suppose maybe next year for 2018, if you're back to full fitness again, we could have maybe a 4 or 5 way fight for the title.
Yeah, and I know not to leave scrutineering early now, so yeah, that was, you know, it's just kind of a bad luck after bad luck, I think, today. So yeah, give it a go now.
Well, what a way to do it. Again, very much like Mark Lawrence, no pressure from the back. You can just do what you like.
Yeah, I'll either do well or come off again.
Okay, that sounds ominous. Cheers, Michael.
Cheers.
Right, who else can we grab? Let's see if we can grab a word with Sam Fisher, who another one with a frustrating weekend so far. Sam, it's been a tough one here at Whilton Mill this time because we're used to seeing you battling away for a podium. It's been frustrating so far.
Yeah, not a lot's gone right today, so yeah, not much else I can say about that. It's a bit scary when you're pointing backwards in the middle of turn 1 off the start, but we'll push on here and see what we can do now.
And obviously, it is a tough fight. We've said this so many times, how close it is. I mean, you were one of those 5 drivers at Shenington between 8,000ths of a second cover for pole position. It's so close in this championship.
Yeah, there's not a lot to call between everybody. That makes it tougher when you do have some trouble and have to come through from the back, because there's hard work finding your way through everybody, but there we go.
I have to say, I'm looking forward to seeing 3 race-winning drivers go up from the back of the grid to the front. I'm not sure how much you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm not too keen on it, but I'm sure it'll make for good viewing, yeah.
Yeah, the viewers are definitely enjoying it. Have a good one, though.
Cheers, mate.
Right, who else can we grab a word with before the race gets going? Oh, let's talk to one of the newbies, Ben Hitch, who's not been here before this weekend in the 2017 season. You've actually been doing a pretty good job competing with some, you know, very talented, established drivers who have been here all season. First race in the weekend in the kart, and off you go. You're right up in there.
Yeah, I mean, I raced karts like 17 years ago, so I'm not a complete newbie, but yeah, it's good to come back into the sport, but these guys are nutters.
It's almost like the first day back at school, and clearly you're obviously on the way to A-stars.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if I get through the start this time.
Fair play. Great to have you back in the sport.
Thank you.
Right, who else can we find? Oh, let's talk to Neil Fisher. He's been up and down all over the place this weekend. He's been at the front, battling away with other drivers in the wars at the front. It's been an interesting one, hasn't it?
Making very hard work of this today. It's not entirely going to plan, but we hope to have a good final.
And obviously, you know, the last race of the season is a bit of an end-of-term atmosphere. There's been a lot of camaraderie all season long. You guys are all very close. Should be interesting going into the winter.
Yeah, I'm quite glad it is the last round, you know. It's going to be quite a break until the season next year, and yeah, I'm sure everyone's all going to hug and smile at each other, so yeah, we'll see.
Excellent. Well, we hope that the last race of the season ends on a high for you this time, and hopefully we'll be talking to you on the rostrum.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Neil. Right, who else can we find? Oh, let's talk to Carl Churchill, the comeback kid. Started the season towards the tail end. Now we're back towards the front again, Carl. That's more like it, isn't it?
Yeah, back where we should be, but not really fast enough today. Don't know, it's just not happening for us.
Well, we definitely know that the potential is there. I mean, you were so strong at Shenington, you were so close to winning the E-plate until the mechanical problems hit in, so maybe 2018, a full championship push.
Yeah, I think the equipment's there, it's just me, I don't know, not good enough anymore, eh?
Well, we wish you all the best for the last race of the season. Good luck, Carl. Right, we've got time for a couple more. Right, let's talk to Sam Dimelow. Sam, your very last race wearing the face fungus. How's that going to go for you?
I don't know. Be interesting, I don't know. It's my good luck charm, so that's why I kept it till now.
So does that mean when you get rid of it, you're going to have to grow it back in time for the March season opener, otherwise you won't win again?
I'm going to grow it straight back because I work outside and it's cold.
Fair enough, mate. Well, this guy over the way, Dan Whilton, has been giving you quite a tough challenge today, probably more perhaps than you were expecting. How are you going to deal with that in the last race?
Yeah. No, I'll just take it. I mean, he's fast. He's very consistent, so wait for him to make a mistake. If not, I'll try and force him to.
Fair play. Well, we wish you all the best for the last race of the year.
Thank you.
Right, let's talk to the man who has been grabbing all the headlines this weekend, Dan Whilton. First race weekend of the season for the season finale, and you've been making him sweat. Not many people have done that this year.
There you go, we've had a bit of luck this week, and everything's going well, so hopefully we'll see what happens.
And obviously getting used to the karts for the first time for the race season, how have you found it?
Yeah, it's good. We come testing a few weeks ago, and we just use the same setup, and that's how we're rolling.
So now we know that you can race up against the likes of the Ben Yeomans and the George Fridays and the Sam Dimelows of this world. 2018, championship fight, surely.
Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
We're looking forward to seeing that, Dan. Good luck tonight.
Cheers, thank you.
Last race of the season. We'll let them finish off their championship fight on a high. And I think we are just about to get ready to go. So, the last race of the birelART UK Series 2017 in the SuperMasters 125 Championship. It has been one heck of a day, and we've crowned 3 champions. We had already crowned the 4th last time out at Shennington. Sam Dimelow had got the job done. So now there is literally just one race to go in the birelART UK Series. The championships are all decided, and congratulations to our champions, to Ella Stevens, to Tyrone Stansfield, to Sam Faulkner and to Sam Dimelow. But this last race of the season is for nothing more than bragging rights. Here is your starting grid. Dan Whilton and Sam Dimelow from the front of the grid, with Dan Whilton taking his first win on his first outing in the championship. Second row of the grid, George Friday and Ben Yeomans on the second row. Neil Fisher and Carl Churchill share the third row of the grid together, with 7th on the grid for Jim Rainbird alongside another new boy, certainly the first race back for 17 years, he was telling us, Ben Hitch. Sean Port and Stig Albert in the top 10, with Ken Churchill and Mark Lawrence fighting their way back. Mark Lawrence in particular, to answer Jack Bruce's question from earlier, he will be bouncing back, but not in the Rodeo Demolition Derby kart he was in earlier. Sam Fisher and Michael Roots will join him at the back as well, which means we'll have 3 very, very feisty racers charging their way through. So a few more well-wishers on the social media side of things as well. Emma Checkley just saying well done to everyone, and a great race to Sam Faulkner, who won the championship in fine style in the 2017 season in Super Elites and rounded off his year on a high in fine form. But this is the last race of the year, and it all comes down to who can hold their nerve for the last race of the year. It's been an emotional roller coaster for all of the drivers out there. They've all put in a sensational drive all the way through the year, but now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. The final race of the final weekend of the 2017 birelART UK Series, and as the sun sets over Whilton Mill, we'll only just about have enough sunlight to have the last race of the year, and it will be tricky for all of the drivers at the sharp end, with the sun hitting their visors at rather awkward angles in the last race of the season. But this is it. One more shindig for the birelART UK Series SuperMasters 125 season to come to a close. Dan Whilton on the left-hand side of the circuit. On the right-hand side is Sam Dimelow. The rest of the cavalry charging fast, and off we go. And it's a great start for Dan Whilton. But it is Sam Dimelow who takes the early lead, and Ben Yeomans goes with him. So Dimelow, Yeomans and Whilton, that's your top 3 as they work their way through. George Friday's been hung out to dry on the far side too, as we've got a couple of drivers moving forward. There's certainly no carnage this time by, and the rest of the field now squabbling behind. But it's Dimelow, Yeomans, Whilton, Fisher, Churchill, Rainbird, Friday, Port, Ken Churchill and Ben Hitch. So there is your battle at the moment. Michael Roots tucking in behind Ben Hitch. Then it is Stig Albert, Mark Lawrence and Sam Fisher towards the back as they battle away for position in the early stages of this one. A terrific start to proceedings in the SuperMasters 125, and Dimelow leads the way. Yeomans second, third is Whilton, fourth is Neil Fisher. Then it's Carl Churchill in front of Jim Rainbird, and that is George Friday in behind in 7th position. Sean Port, Ken Churchill, Michael Roots, Ben Hitch, Stig Albert, Mark Lawrence and Sam Fisher. So Sam Dimelow leading the way at the moment as he runs out in the lead trying to get away from Ben Yeomans and the rest of the pack, but third position, Dan Whilton, still looking mighty racy here. As he comes out of turn 9, that is Chapman's, up towards the boot. Once again, still looking for that way to come through. And Dimelow has actually pushed it a little bit far over the toe of the boot there. He's lost momentum, and that's brought Yeomans, Whilton and Neil Fisher right onto his back there. So this is going to be a tough battle. Here comes Yeomans. He's going to get up on the inside of Christmas, is he? No, Dimelow's going to defend. He doesn't want to pull away. He's not bothered about that. He just wants to end the season on a high, battling away for position. So let's see how this is going to work out. Dan Whilton still hanging on. Yeomans getting alongside Dimelow. Dimelow holding the inside line. And that's Yeomans trying to cut straight back. Look how defensive Dimelow is driving in the moment. He's literally parking his car right on the inside line. And that's Ben Hitch having spun off in the background. You could just see it there on the other side of the circuit. Ben Hitch has dropped down to the back of the grid. But Dimelow leads. Yeomans second. Then it's Whilton, Fisher, Friday, Churchill, Rainbird, Roots, Ken Churchill, Port, Lawrence. Then it is Fisher, that's Sam Fisher, the number 4. And then it is Sean Port, I think that is, at the back of the queue. No, sorry, that's Stig Elbeth at the back of the queue. Ben Hitch has dropped to 14th, and he's now down the order, trying to recover his position. As Dimelow again defends, Yeomans is trying to cut on the switchback out of Ashby. Whilton is right there as well. How many drivers are in this battle for the victory? Up the inside, Dimelow continues to defend from Yeomans. Dimelow is just driving the widest car in history. He's not in a go-kart, he's in a Buick. Up to the boot they go again, and Yeomans dives for the inside. Dimelow shutting the door, and that's tightening everything up. Fisher is rubbing the back of Dan Whilton's car because there's nowhere to go. Sam Dimelow is absolutely parked on the apex, and Yeomans just cannot seem to find a way to get alongside as Dimelow just parks the car on the inside line. Diving on the inside of the big shot! That's Carl Churchill! Churchill goes up and over! Well, he rejoins the race at the back, and Yeomans has been given a warning for contact there. So clearly they've decided that his manoeuvres to try and get past Sam Dimelow are a little bit too cheeky. But it's up to Sam Dimelow. He has the right to defend, and he's defending fine at the moment out in front. But Carl Churchill was going on a bit of a rodeo ride there. How he's managed to get himself back into position right behind Stig Elbeth without losing time, I will not know. Here he goes. He just dives for the inside. He left his braking a billion years too late and went up and over the top of Dan Whilton. Whilton was the one who ended up getting held up, and Whilton is now down to 8th position. Here we go again. Dimelow hanging on the inside line from Yeomans, Fisher, Friday, and Michael Roots up in P5. What was that Michael Roots was saying on the grid? I'll either do well or end off again. Well, that's exactly what he said. I guess that's how he's playing it. Dimelow still parked on the inside line. He's not bothered about winning this race. Certainly not at a canter. He wants to do it the hard way, and he's getting a little bit of a push and shove there. Neil Fisher trying to come through. Yeomans is in there. Roots has got past Friday in the squabble. And back at the front of that queue behind them is Dan Whilton. He's got past Sean Paul, past Rainbird. Lawrence and Sam Fisher have come with them. What a race to end the season. This is absolutely superb, and Dimelow looks behind him again. Up the inside, Yeomans is going for it, Fisher's going for it, and up the inside of both of them goes Michael Roots. Roots gets past them both. What a manoeuvre from Michael Roots. He goes up to 2nd place. Yeomans is now 3rd. 4th is Neil Fisher. 5th is Dan Whilton. 6th is George Friday from Port, Rainbird, Lawrence and Sam Fisher. Amazing racing. And now there's a warning for contact for Neil Fisher. That's the 6th plate, getting a little bit of a ticking off from the stewards next time by. But Sam Dimelow leads the way. Michael Roots right behind him. Then Yeomans, Neil Fisher, Whilton, Friday, Port, Rainbird, Lawrence and Sam Fisher. Then it is Carl Churchill in 11th in front of Elbeth, Hitch and Churchill. Here we go up the inside. Roots is going for the lead on Dimelow, and he's got him. Michael Roots takes the lead from the back of the grid. How has he done that in only 8 laps? That is amazing. Michael Roots has now got Dimelow for company. But Michael Roots leads the way. He won the first final of the year. What a way to end the season if he could win the last final of the year. Here comes Dimelow though, back up the inside, and Roots is willing to play. I'll just get you back again when you wobble around the apex. But Dimelow is in the lead, Roots in second. Third is Yeomans, fourth is Neil Fisher. Dan Walden is in fifth position in front of the number 5 of George Friday in sixth. Then it's Port, Rainbird, Lawrence and Sam Fisher. Dimelow again parks his cart in the middle of the circuit as Rainbird makes the move for 7th and gets the place off Sean Port. So Rainbird through in a 7th place, Port trying to get back at him. And Mark Lawrence might get the move up the inside of Ashby. He doesn't. Walden's got through. Who's that he's overtaken? Is that right down to the back of the queue? That is Ben Yeomans. Yeomans has gone down to 6th position. Behind Walden, behind Friday. And now Roots is diving up the inside of Dimelow. And they've both gone wide. Neil Fisher takes the lead. Neil Fisher takes the lead. Roots is down to 2nd. Walden is 3rd, Friday 4th, Dimelow down to 5th, side by side. Oh my goodness, what a race to end the year. 6 minutes 45 plus 1 lap on the clock, and I still haven't got a clue who's going to win it. Roots has got clear in 2nd position, but Neil Fisher's got some space. Neil Fisher leads the way, Roots in 2nd, and there's a warning for contact. That is Michael Roots who's been given the warning. Clearly they felt that manoeuvre with him and Sam Dimelow was a little bit cheeky. Dimelow puts his hand in the air as if to say, what are you playing at? Even Yeomans tried to come through there past Dimelow and thought better of it. My goodness, we've got ourselves a real humdinger of a race now. And there's contact. It's Dimelow off the road. Dimelow off the road. Dimelow has come off the racetrack at the far side of the circuit. So now Dimelow is at the back. I wonder if he's had an incident with Yeomans. Yes, they're both off. Ben Yeomans and Sam Dimelow both off the road. Dimelow's come through. Where is Ben Yeomans? I can't see Yeomans' cart. But Ben Yeomans has disappeared. Oh, he's in the barriers up at he's up at Chapman's. So it looks like both of them have gone together. Now, we've got a static camera on that particular corner. I wonder if there's a replay. We might be able to see that particular corner again because there is a camera trained on that particular turn. So we might be able to wind that back and see if we can get a replay of it. But Fisher is your leader. Roots is 2nd. Walden is now 3rd. From George Friday, Jim Rainbird, Sean Port, Mark Lawrence, Carl Churchill and Sam Fisher. Stig Albert is 10th. Dimelow is now 11th, ahead of Ben Hitch, with Yeomans and Churchill out of the race. Well, Yeomans is carrying on. He's got the car going again, but he's brought it straight back into the pits. Wow, drama between Dimelow and Yeomans in the final race of the season. But Neil Fisher is leading, although Dan Walden and Michael Roots are working together, and Neil Fisher is not going to be allowed to run away with this one. Walden is working with Michael Roots. They're going to try and catch up to Neil Fisher. The gap is still under a second as Walden goes for the move on Roots. Oh, that was close, and now round the outside Friday is going to keep his footing. Now, he has made up a place by going around the outside. Now, that was expressly stated in the driver's briefing. If you gain a position by going around the outside. Now, look at that. George Friday has given the place back straight away. That was well done from George Friday. He realised that he'd made the overtaking move around the outside, so he let Dan Walden straight back through. Well done to George Friday for that one. And that means he will avoid a penalty. Good boy, George. So the battle very, very tight in behind. I wonder if we've managed to get hold of a replay of that incident between Dimelow and Yeomans on that Chapman corner. We had a camera there. I wonder if there's a replay of it. We're not sure. But Fisher and Roots are trading fastest laps at the front of the field. Walden's trying to come through as Carl Churchill makes the move on Sean Port and gets through. Very hard, very tough racing indeed. So Carl Churchill has just got past Sean Port. We see them there on the way through the Facebook live stream as George Friday is given a warning for track limits. He's still given the warning, even though he's given up the position, because he does need to go up the position. Okay, so we don't have a replay, unfortunately, of that incident between Dimelow and Yeomans, which is a real shame, because that was one of the moments of the race, and we didn't actually see what happened between them. But their race came to an end regardless. Fastest lap of the race is now Dan Whilton, 45.961. Oh, wow, this is turning into one hell of a showdown in the final race of the season. And it's Neil Fisher who leads by half a second to Michael Roots. Dan Whilton is another 0.7 of a second back. And now it is very close indeed. It's not half a second now, is it? Look at that. Michael Roots right on the back of Neil Fisher as they battle away down to Chapman's. Through they go. And up towards the back straight once again as Neil Fisher just checks behind him to see where Michael Roots is. Dan Whilton is in there in third position as well. But this is going to be a spectacular end to the season with a very impressive race like this. And it looks as though both Mark Lawrence and Sam Dimelow have now pulled into the pits to retire. Sam Dimelow motored round for another 2 laps, but I think he decided it's game over. So only for the second time this season, Sam Dimelow fails to finish. And it leaves Neil Fisher out in the lead. Roots in second, Whilton in third, Friday in fourth from Rainbird, Churchill, Port, Fisher, Elbeth and Ben Hitch. They are the only finishers. Mark Lawrence, Ben Yeomans, Ken Churchill and the new champion, Sam Dimelow, are out of the race. But that doesn't mean you can't get out of shaving your beard though, Sam. You've still got to do it. So Sam Dimelow has raised enough money to do it. So hopefully we will get to see that at the end of the season. But with 1 minute and 22 left on the clock, plus 1 lap, it's still an open playing field for the victory. 3 men, Neil Fisher, Michael Roots and Dan Whilton, battling away for the victory. So this is going to be a really exciting end to the season as they battle away for position. But what an end to the year it will be as the drivers put in every last ounce of speed and gusto into their last race of the year. And I think Carl Churchill is coming to the pits. Yes, Carl Churchill is out of the race now after his rodeo drive over the top of Dan Whilton at Christmas Corner. It is all over for Carl Churchill. And that's a big moment for Fisher as he runs wide. Roots in there in second, Whilton third, Friday fourth. 2.5 seconds between them. Rainbird is still in 5th position ahead of Sean Port, Sam Fisher, Stig Elbeth and Ben Hitch. And they are the last runners in the race. 5 drivers out of this final race of the season. What a race of attrition it's been. We've lost Ken Churchill, we've lost Ben Yeomans, we've lost Sam Dimelow, we've lost Mark Lawrence, and now we've lost Carl Churchill. But look at Michael Roots all over the back of Neil Fisher as they battle for the victory down towards Chapman's. Not yet, not yet. He's not going to make the move just yet. But there is just 1 lap to go after this one. Into the boot. Roots is going to push it right to the flag. Neil Fisher leads the way. Will Neil Fisher finally get his first race win of 2017? He was the E-Plate champion in 2016. He has yet to win a race. But now it's going to be an absolutely amazing end to the season. Jack Bruce giving us some very kind words, but these guys on the racetrack have really done the hard work today. They've given us an amazing showdown, and it's not over yet. Michael Roots, with a few corners to go, still has a chance to take on and pass Neil Fisher, and he's going to give it everything he's got. He's going to have to try into the boot, and I know Michael Roots, he's going to go for it. He dives for the inside, Neil Fisher defends. Roots is going to try and get him on the undercut. Neil Fisher goes over the curb, tucks in for the inside. Roots has got space. He's going to be side by side into the final turn. Roots has got him. Roots has got him on the final turn. Roots wins it. What a finish to the season. Michael Roots has won it at the line. Oh my goodness. Neil Fisher so close to a win in the final reckoning, but Michael Roots has stolen it from him at the last. From the back of the grid, Michael Roots wins the last race of the season. Neil Fisher is second. Dan Whilton is third. From Friday, Rainbird, Port, Fisher, Elbeth, Hitch, and that's all she wrote. Carl Churchill, Mark Lawrence, Sam Dimelow, Ben Yeomans and Ken Churchill failed to make the flag. Oh my word. What a sensational end to the season. That is just incredible. Michael Roots taking the victory on the final corner, pretty much, of the final lap. What a sensational end to the day here at Whilton Mill. That has to be one of the best karting meetings I think I've ever been to. What a way to end the season. Every single race had drama. Every single race had action. Every single race race had a battle that went down to the line. Terrific. That is an absolutely amazing way to end the season with 4 incredible class battles and some amazing races to finish off the season in fine style. Well, we're going to go and find the top 3 drivers then from what has been an absolutely amazing end to the season. I mean, we've had some races this year in the 2017 campaign in the birelART UK Series. Those took some beating. I'm just going to head down into the scrutineering. Don't be too far away, because we're going to get the podium ceremony underway after this one as well. But what an absolutely sensational end to the 2017 season it has been in all 4 classes. And obviously the focus now on the SuperMasters 125. What a battle to the end. And there is great spirit and competition and sportsmanship at the end of an amazing race meeting here. So without further ado, once the cart is on the trolley, we will have a word with the man who came from the back of the grid to first position. You won the first final of the season, Michael. Now you've won the last final of the season. What an absolutely amazing race. Did you know you had that in you at the last corner?
Yeah, my family are here, so it's nice for them to see. What do you think, darling? She's gone shy.
She's gone shy.
No, it was a good race, yeah. I got in a way, I got lucky that a few of them in front of me tangled. But the guy, was it 241, he was quite quick and putting us under pressure. We got a few lucky gaps with him. So yeah.
What a positive way to go into the winter with 2018 looming large. Now we know you can go for the championship.
Yeah, I've always known.
Well, thank you for ending the season on a high. Well done.
Thanks, Jake.
Right, let's go and grab a word with Neil Fisher. That is the most painful way to lose what was clearly going to be a victory. Neil, so close, so ridiculously close, but what a race to end it on.
Yeah, I know, it was carnage out there. The first couple of laps, I was just sitting behind. I could see the reflection from the sun. Someone's behind me. And I thought they were going to take each other out. But
Don't look behind, Neil. Don't look behind.
But I had no brakes at the end. The last 6-7 laps, we had no brakes. The pedal was on the bar. So I'm lucky to get second. So I'm quite happy. It's a shame. I know Mike would have got me somewhere if it wasn't this lap, but because we had no brakes, the last 3 laps was just if and when. And I looked behind down the straight, and we had a gap. But hey, you know, second place after today is it's good, and we'll be back to fight another day.
And what a fantastic end to the season. Hopefully there's more from you in 2018, Neil. Thank you so much for the entertainment all year.
That's quite all right, and I will be billing you.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Right, I better go and find my Swiss bank accountant. Right, here is the man though, Dan Whilton, who really spiced things up in the last weekend of the year. Dan, that was absolutely incredible. At one point you were battling for the victory, then you dropped down to 8th and fought your way back up to the podium.
Yeah, that's how it goes, isn't it? Glad we got back to where we were. And out my hand, but that's all right.
But I tell you what, that's going to be an interesting one. I think the Dan Whilton show has just had its first very interesting chapter.
Yeah, hopefully next season we're on it like we are today. We'll be winning the championship.
I can't wait for next year, mate. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, mate.
That is an absolutely incredible way to end the year, considering we had one of the best races of the entire championship. And in each of the classes, 24 races have been absolutely incredible in each of the 4 classes. And that's what we're going to do all over again in 2018. So what we're going to do then is we're going to close the stream from the races, and we will return shortly for the podium ceremonies in each of the 4 classes. But I think you'll all agree it's been absolutely incredible. Huge thank you to Alpha Live for all of the coverage over the course of the day. It's been a great way to run a race meeting, and we've had some sensational race action from all of the 12 races we've had today. Imagine in 2018 being on a grid where you get to have that kind of coverage, that kind of amazing publicity, and 96 races to battle for over the course of the season, all of them broadcast on the birelART UK Series Facebook page and Downforce Radio. I can't think of a better way to do it. We'll be back in a few minutes on the birelART UK Series Facebook page with the podium celebrations.